Hi, my name is Cha. I work for Ramsey County Soil and Water Conservation Division, and we're out on a boat today at Como Lake. We're going to be doing something called a point intercept survey, which is basically a way to see what kind of aquatic plants are in the lake. And what we're going to be using is a rake, so we're going to drive the boat across the entire lake, and we're gonna pick about 60 points where we are gonna toss this rake in the water and then see what we can pull up from the lake. And we're gonna be writing down the names of the species and how much we find of each species. And then we're gonna write all this stuff down and put it into a report. That's the kind of work we do out here. All right, so this here is called a Secchi disc, and it's to measure the transparency or the clarity of the water in the lake. We're just going to dip it all the way down until it disappears, and we're going to pull it back up to the point where you can just see it, and then we're going to measure the distance of the rope. And that's what we record. It's right about there. We're going to take this measurement and record it. That's the data we collect. My job title is Environmental Resources Specialist. I grew up in St. Paul and Minneapolis, but currently I actually live in the city of Roseville. As a kid, I had the opportunity to go to Como Zoo and Minnesota Zoo quite a few times actually, and I always had this interest in biology, in animals, in water resources. So I kind of knew in the back of my mind that I'd get a career in conservation. I think my job offers a really good balance for working outdoors and working indoors. It's really nice to be able to spend half my time outside in collecting data and studying the environment outside, and then eventually bringing all the data I collect back to the office and putting this data into reports. I think a good skill to have is what we call people skills, which means you're really good at engaging with people and talking with people. I think this is really important because when you do a lot of work outside in the environment, you are around a lot of public spaces, and people often approach you and ask you questions about your job. I think another good skill to have is to be able to ask a lot of questions. Nobody knows all the answers, and I think it's really important because the more questions you ask, the more answers you will have later on. So don't be afraid to ask questions. I went to a college called College of St. Benedict and St. John's University, where I did 4 years of school. And then I also went to the University of Minnesota, where I did a master's degree, and that took me 2 years. So in total, I did 6 years of schooling before I ended up getting my job. In fourth grade, I actually really enjoyed running. I am scuba certified, and I've been scuba diving in some of the lakes in St. Paul, Minneapolis. I've also been scuba diving out in the ocean by Hawaii, and it's a really great hobby. At the moment, I don't have any pets, but I used to have a lot of tropical fish in a 75-gallon tank. In 5 years, I would be interested in the same kind of work to see whether or not the work we do today has an impact 5 years down the road. And another thing I would be really excited about 5 years from now is to see young faces, young professionals work, coming to work for organizations such as Ramsey County, because I think everybody brings in a different skill set, and each person has talents that they can add to the team. And so people like myself can always learn from new professionals.